Good morning and welcome to the Courage Coalition. Here we are, week 4 of the BEAM process, and really taking apart what it means to live a different money story, what it means to live in your values when it comes to your finances, what it means to live in your values as a life lesson. And so this week we're talking about mindset. And mindset is a funny thing because it's a circle, it's an evolution, but it always comes back to those beliefs and those values. What do you believe about money? What do you believe about saving and earning and spending? Are you creating shame around where you're currently at? Because it's just the chapter, you guys. It's just the chapter, and you get to choose each day to change that, to do something different. And so when I think about abundance, we always hear about abundance and scarcity when it comes to money, and it's all about mindset. I'm going to ask you a question. What does abundance mean to you? That is one of the first things I'll ask my clients in the very beginning is, what does abundance mean to you? What is your why? What is that dream? And for each of us, it's so, so different. And that's why I challenge you every day to drop the limiting beliefs of what you've always thought was abundance, always thought was success, always thought was making it, right? We get to choose what that looks like. Abundance is a thought process, a mindset of our whole life aligning with our values. So when I talk about abundance, I want you to ask yourself, what is my abundant time? What is my abundant freedom? What is my abundant relationships? What is my abundant um let's see what else. What is my abundant money, right? We do want to know what that looks like. But then ask yourself, why? Why do I want $1 million in the bank? Why do I want 27 clients? Because if you don't know, then it's not a part of your story. It's a part of somebody else's. And that's where the challenge comes in. And so, I'm going to go back and just share a little bit, really vulnerably about like Chad and I's story and the mindset of an evolution of our mindset as we've moved to Montana, started over, and really dropped what it meant to be successful. Because on paper, from the outside looking in, we were successful. We had the 401k, we had the great job, we were making over 6 figures a year. We were typical middle class Americans. I was able to stay at home. I had a side gig. We traveled. I could go on and on. We were almost debt free. We were successful. But what was not a part of our success story was the amount of time and stress that had to be dumped into that every single day of our lives in order to make it happen. That wasn't an abundant life. It was a scarcity mindset. It was that this is what it looks like. This is what we're supposed to do. And so we should do it. We should be grateful for what we have. We should be grateful for this opportunity. And I agree that we should. But we also get to be grateful for choosing something else. And you've heard me say it in other episodes, but when you give yourself the opportunity to change your mind, that is abundance. That mindset that you get to change your mind is the biggest ticket to freedom you will ever receive. And so if you're listening, I'm assuming it's because of some kind of money story, some kind of pain point around money. And if you're hearing the hammering, sorry, I'm not going to quit recording because he's outside working. Time, freedom of time, right? So anywho, what is that freedom of time? And so for us, it's not having somebody else control our schedule, not having to be somewhere at a certain time and a certain place and a certain routine and schedule. Being able to have slow mornings for me is a huge thing. Lack of rush creates peace, which creates the ability to create. Being able to be at all of our kids' events, no time off, no, when we want to travel, we go. We get to work from anywhere in the world. That is freedom. Now, my bank account is and may be less than it's ever been, because the honest answer is it is. But abundance is the mindset to understand that I get to rebuild. I have the abilities to earn money. I get to change how we earn money. I get to rebuild the savings. Remember, savings is a behavior. I know that I have that behavior, but that savings enabled me the opportunity to change my mind. It doesn't mean anything about me that we haven't been able to save like we've always saved, because we get to change that. Now that the house is finished, the construction is finished, and we are built, we get to change what that looks like. But we did it in our way, in our time frame. We didn't put a blame or a meaning about us because we didn't finish in the 2 years. It is what it is. And we just kept going. Did it make it harder financially to spend 3 years building versus 2 years? Absolutely. But because we lived in that abundant mindset of knowing that we get to earn money, we can earn money, we get to save, we have savings, and we have the knowledge to grow our money, we are living in abundant financial choices, financial life. So I ask you today is what is abundance in your mind? What is that belief about abundance? Is it strictly about a number, or is it about how you truly show up and live your life? Is it about your why? Going back to those core values of family, of finances, of adventure, of whatever it is for you, spirituality, giving back. What does it mean to live in those core values? Sure, in the past year, instead of starting the foundation, I could have waited for that perfect time financially, time-wise, all the things. Because Chad and I committed to covering all the admin fees the very first year. We were spending money. Maybe we should have, maybe we shouldn't have. But for us, it was a hard yes, because it came back to those values, those core values, giving back, doing something to live a legacy of walking the walk and not just talking the talk. And so you can wait for the perfect time, but I'm going to tell you, sorry, not sorry, it will never be the perfect time. There is no perfect time. There's no perfect time to earn money in a different way. There's no perfect time. So let's go back to that. There's no perfect time to earn money in a certain way. Maybe some of you are listening and you have had it in your jobs. You cannot stand the energy it takes to just get out of bed and go to work Monday through Friday, whatever your schedule is. Then have the courage to ask yourself, how does it look different? How do I have opportunities to change this? That's abundance. Because we all get to choose. It may not be comfortable. It may be, and it will be actually really hard to change what that looks like, to let go of some of those handcuffs, those shackles that hold you there, whether that's your retirement, whether that's your life insurance, your health insurance, maybe, right? When Chad left his job, we lost our health insurance. We lost our retirement. What we had, but there was a huge investment going into that outside of our investment each year. So we lost all of that. But we could choose to live that story for the next 20 years in misery, in scarcity, because that's the thought process that we couldn't do it on our own or in a different way is scarcity. We chose something different. We chose to live abundance because we get to choose how it looks. We get to choose what it looks like. And a number or a benefit is not abundance. That is somebody else's way of looking at it. And so if if you're in a job that you just know is sucking the life out of you, I'm challenging you to ask yourself, how could I do this differently? How could I earn money in a different way? Because remember, how we earn money is an action, and we all have that ability to earn money. And then maybe it's because you're in debt. Maybe you're listening because you just feel so overwhelmed in debt. Well, the way you spend money is a behavior. And so you have to ask yourself, why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep making a cycle? Why do I keep spending on this or signing up for this? That goes back to that very first session, values and beliefs. You don't value something about your dreams. You haven't dropped a limiting belief that it definitely belongs to somebody else. Because if you're not aligned in your spending, a behavior comes from those values. And spending is a behavior. And then it comes down to the end is like, how do we change the way we think about building money, growing money? Remember, just because grandpa and your dad and your mom and your grandma saved a certain way doesn't mean that's for you. It doesn't make it wrong. It just means it may not be for you. So how are you going to invest your money, grow your money, build that knowledge? How are you going to say goodbye to the federal retirement? Because who else wants a federal retirement? Well, I'm raising my hand because I would love it, but I'm not willing to give up on the values that require it. There's nothing like federal retirement, state PERS retirement, but it cannot define who I am. It cannot be the basis, the boundaries for my entire life, because at the end, when you get to retirement, you may or may not make it. And so you gave up everything inside of you for something that was possible, but you never actually got to live. You never got to live each day of the past 40 years because you were just working towards someday. Well, what about today? What about the mindset that you get to live and earn and save all at the same time? Coming back to those core values. So I hope something in these 4 to 5 weeks has really helped you ask some questions. I hope something has really piqued your interest in the thought process that maybe there's something different, because the answer is there is. There is something different if you want there to be something different. So I thank you for listening. If you have any questions, there's information below on how to contact me, how to work with me. And until next time, I wish you the best of days.